Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Should be starting in a few seconds, inshallah. Tonight's majlis is Majlis al-Fiqh, the session of fiqh or Islamic rulings and Islamic jurisprudence. And we're talking about the fiqh of marriage and nikah. In a few seconds, inshallah, should be starting bi-idhnillahi tabarak wa ta'ala, session number 2, talking about marriage and nikah. Bismillah. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. سنبدأ إن شاء الله بعد قليل. We start in a few minutes إن شاء الله, or in just a moment. النكاح. سنبدأ. بسم الله. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. There is going to be session 2 talking about marriage and the rulings ahkam of marriage in Islam, or nikah in Islam. Internet is very slow, subhanallah. Bismillah. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. I beg your pardon, inshallah, should be starting soon. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه أجمعين. Bismillah. Right. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه واهتدى بهداه. We start by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, sending the best of peace and blessings to the soul of our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, his household, companions and followers on the righteous path up until the day of judgment. Allahumma ameen. We continue, inshallah, talking about the rulings of marriage. This is number session number 2, talking about ahkam al-nikah, or the rulings of marriage according to Islam. Last time we started talking about al-nikah, or marriage, and we talked about the definition of marriage, what is marriage, and quoted ayat, verses, and ahadith supporting that. We're talking about how Islam urged its followers to do nikah as part of Islam, and it is in following of the fitrah, or the nature that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created everybody on, and the importance of it and the benefits of it, and the hukm, the ruling that would vary depending on the person. We've talked about the importance of usra, or marriage, or family in Islam, and how this is very important, and the rules of each one in this family, and the rights and responsibilities and things of that nature. And then we've talked about women that you cannot marry, those who are permanently haram or illegal to get married, the definition or the classification of this illegality, because forever or for temporary reasons. And we talked about all of these categories, whether it's based on the blood, somebody is related to you through blood, or somebody related to you through marriage, like your mother-in-law, haram to get married to because you're already married to her daughter. We talked about the different categories, the hikmah, or the wisdom behind that kind of tahrim. Today, inshallah, we will talk about muqaddimat al-zawaj. We will talk about introductions of marriage in terms of what to do before marriage. Khitbah in specific, or translated, can be translated as engagement, but it's not engagement in the English sense, but khitbah, which is the period before marriage that is supposed to be there for both of the groom and the bride to get to know each other and prepare themselves for marriage. First of all, the happiness and success of any marriage or any family is going to be based on some foundation in there. For the continuity of the relationship, Islam does not mainly put the foundation as the desire. We have the desire, and that's changing. The desire meaning the attraction between the male and the female. Some other people call it love, even though that's not the true essence or the true meaning of love. Being attracted to one another, both genders feeling attracted to one another, wanting one another. This is very important, but it's not only by itself the right foundation of marriage, because that changes. That desire, that attraction changes with the time. And you don't want to build something that is supposed to continue, supposed to be strong and resilient and outstanding and everlasting or continuing, based on something that's fluctuating or could be fluctuating. Rather, Islam would put some other foundations for that, and will pay so much attention to having and making sure there are qualities in both the male and the female, both the bride and the groom, that would ensure for that marriage to continue. So there are some steps before you go ahead with this marriage that you are recommended to do. Number one is to search for the right qualities and the right features in the right person, and that goes on both of them. The girl would look for specific qualities in the groom, and the groom would look for specific qualities in the bride. Number two is ru'yatul makhtuba, is supposed to look at the person that you are interested in getting engaged to, and make sure that it's appealing, he or she is appealing. Number three, the khitbah itself, or the engagement, or the pre-marriage getting together, pre-marriage, it's kind of contract, it's kind of promise, it's kind of agreement to get to know one another or practice this, which is called khitbah. That is to be done before marriage, is not marriage. Though the qualities that should be looked into, first of all, you should be searching, you're looking for a partner in life. Islam is telling us that you should be searching for a few qualities out there as being the foundation of the marriage, or as looking for the right person. Number one, and first and foremost, is going to be Islam, or is going to be not Islam, the will, as far as يعني تدين هذا الرجل, or the person being religious, the person being connected and being respectful of the rights of Allah, being a religious person, dayinan, being a religious person, somebody who has deen, somebody who has also al-khuluq al-hasan, or good manners, deen and good manners, and both of them, both for the man and the woman as well. You should be looking for somebody who has good connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and somebody who has a good mannerisms, good character. That is the most important thing. That is the foundation of the nikah, and what you should be looking for above all. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, إذا خطب إليكم من ترضون دينه وخلقه فزوجوه إلا تفعلوا تكن فتنة في الأرض وفساد عريض. He said, if somebody proposes to you, somebody of deen, somebody who is religious, and of khuluq, somebody that you approve of his religion and you approve of his mannerisms, give him your daughter in marriage. This is somebody you need to marry him off. Otherwise, if you don't do, تكن فتنة في الأرض, it will be a great fitna or turmoil on earth, and it will be a great corruption. So the number one thing that the Prophet ﷺ is talking about as far as marriage, he's talking about ad-deen. He's talking about religion and mannerisms. That person should be religious person, fearing Allah, of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, being conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. His relationship with Allah is good. Because if this is there, that will ensure that that person will most likely continue to be conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and what he says about marriage, especially when you disagree, especially when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts responsibilities in him to take care of you. He is conscious of Allah. This is something that's not changing. It's not supposed to be changing. But attraction, your attraction to him, his attraction to you may be changing. That does not mean that you ignore everything else. It does not mean that you ignore the beauty, you ignore other factors that could be there in marriage, but it rather means that religion comes number one as the foundation. Anything else should follow, and there's no problem. Number two of the points to be considered after making sure that this person is religious and this person is of good mannerisms, and nasabu, the roots, the lineage, where the family of that person. Who are the parents of that person? Who are the grandparents? From which family this person is coming from? That, the communities and society we live in nowadays may not pay much attention to who your family and the family, the idea of the family itself is receding and decaying in some of the societies we live in nowadays, but that's not what Islam is about. Islam is highlighting the importance of family as a system, as the nucleus of the society, as a whole system that really ensures the well-being of the society in general in many aspects. So this family should be healthy and well and strong, that it should produce healthy and good people. So looking at the family, looking at the origin, looking at where did this person graduated in this house. He lived in that house for all of his life or most of their life. What did they learn in there? Looking at the parents will give you a very good idea, or looking at the family and the surroundings of that person, where did he grow? That will give you an idea of who that person is. So make sure that the nasab, the Prophet ﷺ referred to that by saying a woman could be interested in for marriage because of 1, 2, 3, 4, and he mentioned one of them لحسبها, because of her lineage, because of, you know, how good of a family or of a lineage she has. Number 3 of the qualities to or the things to be paid attention to as far as marriages, you should not be very close relatives. That is, all of these are recommendations, obviously, and things to ensure that marriage would continue and will be good. If they are very, very close, that might affect their genes, and it's not very highly recommended. Number 4 is al-kafa'a or compatibility. They should be both compatible with each other. And by compatibility, the scholars refer to a few things. Number 1, a deen, the level of deen, the level of religiosity of the person, of both of them. Somebody at that level, if the daughter, if the groom or if the bride is at that level of deen, she's not supposed to get married to somebody who is very much lower than her, and that's recommended. If she is okay with that, that is fine. But Islam gives us the instruction and recommendations to make sure that that religion would continue. Because you might have somebody who's a Muslim, but he's asi, he's fasiq, he commits, he drinks, he does things. That person is still a Muslim, but that would not be an equivalent and a compatible with a girl that knows the Quran and very righteous and prays and very straightforward. They are not compatible with one another. So compatibility is mainly the right of the woman, mainly the right of the woman. If she's okay, if she wanted to downgrade, if she wanted to pick up somebody who is lower than her, there is one condition that we will talk about that should be okay with her wali too. Because again, we are moving, Islam is moving and dealing with us not as individuals, but rather as groups, as families in this case when it comes to marriage. And we have to understand this because it will help us understand a lot of things. We have societies that are producing or focusing on the individualism, on, you know, the human being, the person is the center of everything. Islam doesn't do that. Islam is making the family, paying so much attention to the family and the role of the family and the role of those supporting parents, supporting and continue to support for the well-being of those individuals until they make sure that they are in a good position. So compatibility is something, yes, it's the right of the daughter, but also it is the right of her father as well, or awliya or wali as well. Number 2, as far as the factors of compatibility, the scholars are talking about work. You know, if you have somebody from that class of the society, let me just give an example. You are a princess, a girl is a princess from that class in there. That's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said us. We're all, when it comes to prayers, whatever, we're equal. But that, imagine that person is getting married, not talking about movies now. A lot of movies just change the way we think. If you pick up this princess and put her with somebody who grow up in a very, very, very different class of society, that might not lead to a very good relationship. Again, that's a recommendation. Islam is trying to ensure that people would behave, you know, in a natural way, don't waste time in those kind of clashes and what have you. Compatibility also involves being free from any of the defects. So somebody is physically full, but he is mentally ill. He has a problem, or she has a problem. He's not going to be compatible to somebody who is full. Somebody has a deficiency in any organs or any of the physical issues. Islam is urging us, again, it's for the woman or for the man, especially the woman. If they decide that they are okay with all of these marriages with somebody who is much lower than them in these aspects, that is up to them. But Islam is providing us with recommendations to ensure that this marriage will continue and will be healthy and successful. Amongst other things that Islam recommends for the man to get married to a virgin girl, and actually for the girl too to get married to a virgin man. They've never been with anybody before. Recommendation, because it's good, it's better. Also recommending to be with somebody who Al-Wadud, Al-Walud, somebody who produces, who is known to be fertile. How do we know that? How do we know that? We look at the family, because part of our one of the goals of Islam is to have more lineage and healthy lineage, and also the number also is meant in Islam. You look at the family of that man, they have good genes, they have mashallah multiple, they produce good, the woman too. That is one of the things that Islam looks into as well, or recommends for us. Number two, what if we have those qualities? I found that person. What should we do next? Number two is to look at ru'yatul makhtuba. It is highly recommended for the man to look at the woman that he is interested into. Obviously, nowadays, with the norm that we live in nowadays, we have almost no limits with between men and women, between boys and girls. They look, they do other things together, but Islam is highlighting and propagating haya and modesty style of life, that you're not supposed to even look at women that are not related to you for no reason. But when there is a strong reason like that, you are interested in a girl, this is the time that you can really look at her, even without her permission, because if it's set up or anything, she will beautify herself and things like that. You really need to see her for who she is and how she looks like. What am I recommended to look at? You're recommended to look at the face and the hands, the face and the two hands, face and the hands. That will tell you, give you an idea of that person that you are interested into for marriage. You can look and you can look again, and you can continue to look more than once until you are decided about marriage. The Prophet ﷺ, he advised Al-Mughira, قال انظر إليها فإنه أحرى أن يؤدم بينكما. Look at her. He was proposing for a girl. The Prophet ﷺ urged him to look at this girl. Make sure you look at her, because that is more likely to instigate love and affection between you. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه أجمعين. You may also send somebody to describe her for you. She might do the same with the man. The Prophet ﷺ also recommended one lady to go and smell that girl that was the target of marriage. He would somebody was going to get married to her, is to go and smell, get close to her and see how she smells, how her body smells, because that would be a factor also. These are things that you need to pay attention to. If you cannot get to something yourself, you may send somebody, as long as it's within the reasonable, acceptable Islamic things. And then usually scholars, when they come to that, they will talk about hudud al-nazar, what to look at, what can you look at as far as the limits of the relationship between the male and the female. How can they look at each other even in daily life, those who are not related to each other. يعني حكم نظر الأجنبي إلى المرأة. How far can you freely look at women? Can a man freely look at women with need, if he needs something, if he doesn't need something in general? In Islam, actually, according to Madhab al-Imam al-Shafi'i and many others, is you are not supposed to look at any woman at any time for no reason. For no reason. Unless you need to, and you need to because of al-mudawa, this is a physician or somebody who would help that lady, or a woman, a female is helping that male. عند المعاملة, when you're buying or selling, when you're dealing with that person, when there is a shahid or a testimony or something, and the ta'lim, when there is a teacher, you're learning, you're teaching, that these things like that would allow you to look, and only to look at what is needed for. If a physician needs to fix the hand, he doesn't need to look at the back or the belly or something. That is not necessary. So Islam respects who we are and deals with everything, with our psychologies. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, قُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ يَغُضُّوا مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِمْ. Tell the believing men to lower their gaze, of their gaze, to lower of their gaze, not totally to, but scholars would give a comment here, whatever is needed, because you cannot totally not look, go about your life not looking at any female. Only when you need to. When you need to look at this person, then you look at this person. I know I'm talking about some level that the life we live in nowadays, having access to everything, seeing all of these pranks, seeing people ready to take pictures and photos and videos of their wives, of their people, partners, while being even in the bed, while being in the kitchen, while dressing at the clothes at home. Or we live in a time that everything is okay for us nowadays, and that's why we see that leads to a lot of things, that a lot of problems and issues and troubles for the females themselves because of things like that. But Islam is propagating and calling and inviting people for a clean society, a society that would have males and females who are respecting each other, not crossing the boundaries, men helping women, women helping men, living together, teaching each other, helping each other. But if there's no necessity for them to be together alone at one place or even look at each other, then there's no need for that. Islam respects the woman so much that it does not personify or embody or just represent the woman as just a body that will be a target for anybody to look at, and would tell all men that they need to lower their gaze when they see a woman. Obviously, there is a higher or much lower level of restriction when you deal with your own maharim. Maharim are those who you cannot get married to, your close relatives, the male relatives for the woman, or the female relatives for the man that you cannot get married to, like your sister, like your mother. That is, it's not the same. You can look usually at everything, whatever you need to look at, except the private parts, or specifically between the navel and the knee, as mentioned in the books. When both, back to the khitbah or engagement, when both of them they looked at the features, that and they become like it's okay, that is the right person, his khuluq is good, his mannerisms are good, his deen, religion is good, and the man himself also found the same in the woman or in the girl, then they may proceed forward and make the khitbah. Who can you make khitbah or propose to for marriage? You can propose for for any woman. Obviously, we have talked about women that you cannot get married to. Women that you cannot get married to, you cannot propose to, and that is something we know of. You can sometimes you can say khutbah or propose directly for the woman. That will include any woman that you can get married to. You can go ahead and propose for her. And you can propose indirectly. In some cases, you're not supposed to propose directly. You can indirectly refer to your interest in a woman. And that will be in some cases, like if a woman is during the iddah, during the waiting period after her husband passed away. After her husband passed away, she should be waiting in a period of 4 months and 10 days, not getting married. But can somebody propose to her during that period? Not directly. Somebody can show interest in her. Let's say somebody is telling her that you're such a good lady that I think men will be interested in. Give her any hint that he is interested in her, but he cannot directly propose to her, just to respect that waiting period in there. The same applies if somebody is mutallaqa, is divorced, talaqan ba'inan, baynunatan kubra. If somebody proposes, if a lady is in a waiting period from divorce, but it's the third divorce. If it's the third divorce, obviously she cannot get married to that man again, but she still has to wait for that period after the divorce. Can somebody else propose to her directly? No, but indirectly show his interest in her after she finishes that period. That can happen at this time as well. Al-khitbatu ala al-khitbah. Can somebody propose for a girl that someone else has already proposed to or is interested into, that is haram, that is illegal in Islam. It's impermissible to do that. It will be haram on the person. If somebody proposes for a girl and he was accepted, if he was not accepted, if he proposes and he was not given back any reply, can I propose? Yes, you can. But if he was accepted as a khatib, or somebody whose proposal was accepted, then no one else is supposed to come and propose. What if somebody comes, proposes, and the family found him better than the first person, and they just canceled that first contract and they went with that person? They can do that. I mean, legally, it's the aqd. If he proposes and he was accepted, and then he continues to make the marriage contract, this marriage contract is okay legal wise. But diyanatan, religiously, that's haram on that person. He will have some sin by ethically not respecting that previous person who proposes. But if he proposes and then it continues like that, you cannot say that this marriage is illegal, they cannot get married. No. As far as the marriage itself, all of its conditions related to it, if those conditions, those pillars, everything that we'll talk about are there, then the contract is okay. Because many times you might find like your salah could be okay. Like you pray dhuhr, you did not focus in your salah, you did not pay attention, you did not make dua, you did not really have khushu' in it. Shall we ask you to redo dhuhr again? No, you can. Your dhuhr, if you pray the 4 rak'ah, you have the wudu, you do the movements, you do everything that you needed for salah, then the salah is okay. But it's not necessary that every time you have something sahih, that it will be always halal. There's difference between validity and halal, or something being good and nice. It could be valid. It could be valid to do it, like in this case, it's valid. But al-khitbatu ala al-khitbah, if somebody proposes over another proposal from someone else for a girl, for khitbah, in getting ready to get married, it's haram. But if it happens, then the contract, and this person continues and got married to her, the contract is valid. There is another thing that is supported by the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, لا يخطب الرجل على خطبة أخيه حتى يترك الخاطب قبله أو يأذن له. A person is not supposed to propose over a proposal of his brother to a woman, obviously for marriage, unless he gives him permission to, or unless that person already give up on that proposal or take back that proposal, or he gives permission to him. And that's, again, subhanAllah, Islam is paying attention to the psychology of the well-being, the psychological aspects of the followers, and they are not supposed to even ethically hurt one another like that. حكم الاستشارة في خاطب. What are we supposed to do? First of all, you're supposed to do your homework as a wali, somebody who will be supervising and helping and supporting the girl, like the father, or the girl herself and the boy himself. You're supposed to ask about that person. What if I'm asked about somebody is proposing to someone else, and then that person happened to be my friend and they are coming to ask me, or that person is my neighbor, or I know him, or a co-worker, or what am I supposed to say? You're supposed to say the truth for what it is. In Islam, it's not ghiba, it's not backbiting. You're supposed to be honest and give advice, because this is an advice, this is an amana, this is a trust. That person is trying to be in marriage with my daughter, for example. Then I'm trying to ensure that this marriage is going to continue. That's going to affect the future of that family and their kids and everything. So based on the input he will get from his friends, neighbors, people around him, people know him, he or she will build some kind of picture, some kind of view about that person. So your input is very important. It has to be honest, and you can say what you know about that person. And also this is very important for everything that happens very fast in the time that we live in nowadays. Take away, fast food, everything is fast, the food is fast, the marriage is fast. Give yourself time. This is my advice to my brothers and sisters. You got to give yourself some good times. According to some psychologists, at least 6 months, at least 6 months of knowing that person, along with consulting with others, because all of us, we go through cycles, we go through different modes. Sometimes you're very active, you're very good, you're very outgoing, and then all of a sudden, is that the same person? He used to be active, now he's like, we go into cycles. Summer is different from the winter is different. Those things affect us too. You need to see that person for who he is, for who she is, before you can judge. You're picking somebody to be your partner, because marriage is intended to continue, not just to be a random quick relationship. So give yourself some time with that person. You need to know him or you need to know her over a period of time. Ask others as well, because if he can, usually that is the case. At that period before marriage, he is the nicest. He's going to be the nicest to you. She's going to be the nicest to you. That does not reflect or does not necessarily reflect the real personality of that person. Not that they are trying to fake it. Some people may be trying to fake it, but it is normal, because what's between you now is desire, attraction to one another, hopes, dreams. You don't have anything like actual there. You don't have food, you don't have disagreements, you don't have fighting, you don't have you being together, you don't have kids in between, you don't have nothing of that. What's between you is just hopes, dreams, nice things for the future. So everything is nice, everybody's nice. You need to really get as close as possible to that person, to get to know how he thinks, how she thinks, and so on. Can a wali, the wali or the supervisor and the guardian of the girl, is recommended for him, or he may offer his daughter ala ahl al-salah. He might be searching for somebody for his daughter, or you for your sister, for marriage, even though some cultures are against that. But we see that in our religion. Prophet Shu'aib alayhi salam, or Rajul al-Salih, he offered Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam. We know in Surah Al-Qasas, Prophet Musa left Egypt, and then he went to Madian, and then he met with, he helped those two girls, and their father invited him, and the father, Shu'aib alayhi salam, according to some narrations, he قال إني أريد أن أنكحك إحدى ابنتي هاتين. I really want to get you as a son-in-law to either one of my daughters. I want you to be the husband of either one of my daughters. You choose. So based on that, also Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, when Hafsa, al-Mu'mineen radiallahu anha, the mother of the believers, she's the daughter of Umar ibn al-Khattab. She become like, she was, after her husband passed away, at certain point she was single. So he was looking for her. He actually asked Uthman ibn Affan, and then he asked Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, are you interested in my daughter? So there's no problem in the wali, the one in charge of the girl, to help her look for somebody who is compatible and who is good for her. And again, this is a very important point. You're not looking for yourself. Some wali, some parents, they might be looking for what's suitable for them, as if they are picking up for themselves. They are picking up for their daughter. You need to make sure that you're picking up for her somebody who is suitable and compatible with her. After getting khutbah, now the engagement is there, not the engagement in the American sense. The pre-marriage, there's no marriage yet. Those are just two people. They are trying to find the good qualities of each other. Okay, that's good. Everything is okay. We ask about that person. He's good. Now we make khutbah. Khutbah basically means he's proposing. They can be together for a little bit, talking to each other and things like that. But they cannot be alone. In some cultures too, we are engaged to each other, meaning we have khutbah. They go out together. They go to movies. They cannot do that. They're not supposed to do that. They are two strange people, totally strange people, not married, nothing in between them. The only thing is that they are in the process of finding out about each other, whether they are good for a good match for each other or not. Again, not the Western way. The Western way is let us live, let us do everything, let us date, let us even be together and have kids before we can even get married. That's not the way we do it in Islam. It's the other way around. We find about each other from far, or we get close to each other to talk, probe the mind of each other, talk. What is the plan? What is the future? And then the physical relationship should be delayed after marriage itself. The marriage contract is there, then the physical relationship, or they can be alone, but they cannot be alone in seclusion, like in a room that's locked on them. But they can be together in such a way that they can speak in public places in front of the mahram, for the girl, with some kind of supervision, or in a public place or so on, but they cannot be alone in seclusion with each other. And then again, I'm not sure why did this come to me right now, but it might not be very appropriate, but it's true. If there's no, anyways, I'm not going to say it, but if you give him that before marriage, if you give him what he's supposed to take after marriage, if you give him that before marriage, why do you think would he be interested in marriage? Let's quickly talk about the next topic, أركان عقد النكاح, the pillars of the nikah. The pillars of nikah, you're talking about the essential parties, or the most essential components of marriage itself. Those are five. There are five essential components of marriage. Number one, as-sigha, the formula of having this contract, what to say, because it's a contract, you say something. Az-zawja, the wife. Az-zawj, the husband. And al-wali, the wali or the guardian for the wife. And al-shahidan, the two witnesses. Five. As-sigha, the formula of marriage. The wife, the husband, the wali, who will be the guardian for the girl, and the two witnesses. As-sigha, al-ijab wal-qabul. Formula of marriage is offer and acceptance. Offer and acceptance. So the wali may say, I give you my daughter in marriage, and then the man would say, I accept this marriage. That is what has to say. As-sigha, we have some condition. First of all, why do we have this formula? We have to have this formula because for this contract to happen, we should have consent. There should be consent or rida from both the husband and the wife, the boy and the girl. They should be consent. It cannot happen against their will. How do we know the consent? Consent has to do with the heart. Then they have to show their consent in words. They show their consent in words. Then, according to these procedures in front of two witnesses, marriage is there. So it is out there to see the rida, or to refer to the consent of both of the husband and wife. There are some conditions for the formula of nikah. One, it should involve the word marriage, nikah or zawaj. Nikah or zawaj. Why? Because these are the words that are mentioned in the Quran and in the Sunnah, and the Prophet ﷺ said, فَاسْتُمُهُنَّ بِأَمَانَةِ اللَّهِ وَاسْتَحْلَلْتُمْ فُرُوجَهُنَّ بِكَلِمَةِ اللَّهِ. You took your wives by the word of Allah. What is the word of Allah that Allah talked about when He referred to marriage? In the Quran, He talked about zawaj or nikah. Zawaj. So He should tell him, give me your daughter in marriage. You cannot use any general word. Can I be with your daughter? Can you give me my daughter? And then he tells him, yeah, she's for you. Or can I get with you? Yes, you can get with me. No, it has to be with the wording, this wording, marriage. In Arabic, zawaj or nikah, or in any other language with the what refers to that. What refers to nikah or zawaj, which is marriage in English, for example. In both of them, in both the offer and acceptance, give me your daughter in marriage, I give you my daughter in marriage. Or I give you my daughter in marriage, and the man would say, I accept this marriage, or I accept being with her in marriage. That's condition number one. It should be done with using the word marriage. Number two, التصريح بلفظ الزواج. That's what we said about already. After that, what if somebody, can we do it by writing? No, it cannot happen by writing. Writing in Arabic is not direct reference to what you mean. Writing or kitaba, any form of writing is kinaya. What do you mean kinaya? We have to ask the person, what do you really mean? What do you mean? It has to be verbal with the word nikah, like we said. Like, what if somebody is mute, akhras, he cannot talk? It has to be isharatun mufhima, a sign that anybody can understand. It shouldn't be a hidden sign. It should be a sign that everybody can understand. Like he's talking to the man, I don't know how, but can me and daughter be together? He uses something that everybody would understand, that refers to his intention of, or his request of being in marriage. It has to be direct. No playing with words or games. It has to be direct. اتصال الإجاب والقبول, it should be right away. The offer and acceptance happen with no separation. Not that this person offers and then 10 days later he comes back to him, or even 10 minutes later he comes back to him. It should be right back to back. Give me your daughter in marriage, I give you my daughter in marriage, without any separation in there. It has to be munajjaza. You cannot put any conditions. It cannot be contingent on anything. It cannot be done in the future. Like you say, can I marry your daughter with the beginning of June, next June? And he said, yes, I give you my daughter for marriage beginning coming June. That is batil. That is invalid. It has to be right away. From the time the offer is given and acceptance is there, marriage should start from that time on. It cannot be in the future. Or if my daughter, you cannot put any contingency or any shart or any condition that if she finishes this year, she passes this year, she's your wife. And she accepts and he accepts. No, it doesn't work this way. It's invalid. It has to be right away happening on the spot. وأن تكون الصيغة مطلقة. It should not be, you shouldn't put some timing for the marriage. Like I marry you for a month or for a year. That is invalid. That is called mut'ah. The Shia believe in that the Prophet ﷺ has made that legal for a short period of time for a specific group of people, and then later on he said, وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ قَدْ حَرَّمَ ذَلِكَ إِلَى يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ. Allah has made that illegal up until the day of judgment. So it has to be, nikah should be, you don't mean to get married for a year or for a month or for something. That should not be mentioned in the contract, should not be the intention at all. Talking about the next pillar. So the first pillar was a sigha, or the formula of marriage, and we said that has to involve the word marriage. That has to be not contingent upon anything, not refer to anything, to start sometime in the future for the marriage, not being limited, like the marriage itself not being limited or not being temporary for a certain period of time. It has to be like as we explained. The الركن الثاني, or the second pillar, is the wife, الزوجة, the wife. We have some conditions in the wife for this marriage to be okay. She should be free from anything to prevent her from marriage. Anything to prevent her from marriage, like she's not already in marriage before, or she is not one of the people that you cannot get married to, as we explained, your mom, your sister, or anybody that you cannot get married to. And تكون الزوجة معينة. You should be referring to a specific person, not like give me one of your daughters in marriage. And then he said, I give you one of my daughters. Which one do you mean? No, you have to know who exactly are you talking about, and mention the name of that person. ألا تكون محرمة بحج أو عمرة. She should not be, the wife should not be in a state of ihram, which is the state when you're making umrah or making hajj. When you are in that state of ihram, it's a sanctuary or sacred state that you cannot get married or make any marriage contract as you are in this status. لا ينكح المحرم ولا ينكح ولا يخطب أي لا يتزوج يعني. That's what the hadith is referring to. Number 3, the third pillar is a zawj, or the husband. The husband also, there are some conditions. أن يكون ممن يحل للزوج التزوج به. He's not somebody, he's not mahram, he's not somebody that you cannot get married to, your brother, for example, your blood brother. or any of those that you cannot get married to. He should be somebody that you can get married to. Number two, he should be also mu'ayyanan. You should not just, somebody cannot say, I give my daughter to one of you for marriage. That does not work. It has to be mu'ayyanan. أن يكون حلالا يعني ليس محرما. He should also be not in a state of ihram, but rather outside of ihram, not making hajj, not making umrah, not during the state of ihram. During the state of ihram for the man also, he cannot get married or be even a wali or give somebody else in marriage. Number four, al-wali. Al-wali, that, what is wilaya? Wilaya refers to some kind of mahabba wa nusra, some love and support in language. The lexical meaning of wilaya is al-mahabba wa nusra, loving and supporting. وَمَن يَتَوَلَّ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ. الولاية في الشرع هي تنفيذ القول على الغير والإشراف على شؤونه. It's some kind of supervision and guardianship. Usually for somebody who's young, for somebody who needs that kind of help, that is the wilaya. Islam gives a wilaya, that supervision status for some people over the girl, and that is for her benefit, namely the father in this case, and some other awliya as well after the father. But it's basically to help her choose the best, to represent her as well. Again, we don't need to say that woman in Islam is being dealt with really like a princess. She's not supposed to go and talk about marriage. Yes, I give you myself in marriage. That is, first of all, women in Islam should have haya, some modesty, to not even be involved about that, talk about that. Even though we have this, people open the cameras and allow everybody to their own private areas. That's not the case. Islam is not approving that. Islam approves you be like a queen who does not appear like this to everybody and does not get involved in things like that. Your consent should be given, but then you leave it for the wali, somebody who would talk to the man and go find out about him, investigate him and things like that, and then he will do the contract for you. Also, it's meant for a psychological purpose. Usually girls, especially the first time they're getting married, they might be easily deceived, or they might be the power of, like, the desire or the love is, how do I say, a man or a person, the boy can just say some sweet things, and she doesn't really, usually she's young, too young to decide what is the best for her, and usually they make wrong decisions. When it comes to such a decision, an important decision that will define her direction, she needs help with that. And who could be better than the husband, not the husband, the father in this case, to offer this support and this help. That power would be a little less if she got married before. Obviously, it goes with the experience. She got some experience in life. Still, the wali needs to be there, but he doesn't have the same power as he would with a virgin girl who never got married before. And again, it's all meant to support the girl and to make sure that she chooses the best, not the other way around. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala even said, وَإِذَا طَلَقْتُمُ النِّسَاءَ فَبَلَغْنَ أَجَلَهُنَّ فَلَا تَعْضُلُوهُنَّ يَنكِحْنَ أَزْوَاجَهُنَّ. The ayah goes like that. If like a husband and wife, and then the divorce happens, and then the wife decides to go back to her husband, the wali is not supposed to prevent her. Adl is al-man'u min al-nikah. Is not supposed to prevent her from getting back to her husband if they agree with each other. What does this mean? What does this refer to? First, it refers to there's some level of supervision for the wali in that case, and the ayah will be pointless. According to Imam Shafi'i, he said it will be pointless. What is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talking about if there's no wali, if there's no power, if there's no supervision for that person over her? But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is directing the wali not to abuse this power. Because you might take it personal. Oh, he left my daughter or something. No, you don't even deserve her. I'm not going to let her go back to you. Allah says no. Maybe it was something between them and now they want to get back together. Don't take it personal. Don't abuse this right. Let them go back together. So the point is, The wali is there to help and support. And if he abuses that power, then there's always a way to bypass that or do the right thing. طيب. If a woman cannot, in Islam, a girl at any point cannot give herself in marriage or cannot be a wali or give anyone else in marriage. There is a hadith, لا تنكح المرأة تنكح نفسها ولا غيرها أو لا تنكح غيرها ولا نفسها. A woman is not supposed to give others in marriage or give herself in marriage. She gives the consent, but as far as the procedures of who would be representing her, she cannot be representing herself in marriage. And that is based on majority of the scholars. Imam Abu Hanifa only would say that would be different with a thayyib, the woman who got married before, and he explains that. But we have really several ahadith talking about the importance of the wali. La nikaha, no nikah, no marriage without wali. That's what the Prophet ﷺ said. أيما امرأة نكحت بغير إذن وليها فنكاحها باطل. If any woman got married without the permission of her wali, her nikah is batil or invalid, amongst many other ahadith. And that there is an order for the wali or the supervisor. Number one, al-ab, the father, and then the father of the father, the grandfather from the father's side. It's all based on al-asaba. Asaba is something that might be misunderstood or not being highlighted. Asaba is your lineage from the father's side, and it's only for the males from the father's side in order. That is the asaba. This is the line, this is the bloodline of you. And Islam gives so many or highlights that so much that it will have to do with inheritance. It will have to do with marriage, like that, amongst other things. There are rights and responsibilities based on that. This line starts like the father first, and then the grandfather, the father of the father. Those will have right, unlike the rights, more than the rights of others in terms of wilaya. Their supervision is more than the level of the supervision of the next in the line. The next in the line will be al-akhu shaqiq, the full brother, a brother from your father and mother. Al-akhu li-ab, a father, half brother from the father. Your brother from the mother cannot represent you. That's not your bloodline. He is from another man. So your half brother from the father. Then after that, the son of the full brother, which is your nephew from your full brother from your father and mother. Ibn al-akhi min al-ab, then the son of your half brother from your father. ثم العم الشقيق, and that is your uncle who is your father's brother. Your father's brother, not any uncle, father's brother. ثم العم من الأب, your father's half brother from his father. So your father's full brother, and then your father's half brother from his father. ثم ابن العم الشقيق, then the son of those previous two, the son of the first one and then the son of the next one. Cousin who is from the father's full brother, and then the cousin who is from the father's half brother from his father's side. These are al-asabat, the order of asabat, and then there's so many rules that will be based on that. Inheritance, like we say. Something else, those people, for example, are supposed to pay for you. If you become poor, not able to support yourself, those people, it goes both ways. It's not just like that. If this girl, that they should represent her or supervise her, if at any point, let's say she's not married, she doesn't have anybody to spend on her, then it goes in that order. Those people will have to take care of her as the asaba. It goes both ways. The conditions of, what about the son? The son is not in this list. According to Imam Shafi'i, the son is from another bloodline. Your son is yours, but his bloodline is from his father. Now you're trying to get married, then that is the asabat. Your bloodline are those, not your son. Al-Islam, shurutul wali, he should be a Muslim. If the lady is a Muslim, the bride is a Muslim, then the wali should be Muslim. No non-Muslim should be the wali of a Muslim, simply because this is an Islamic contract. It's not just a civil contract in Islam. It is a civil and mixed with religious nature into it. and it should be done in this way. Also, al-adala, that person should be decent and just, according to many scholars. Some others say, no, if your brother or your father is not that, it shouldn't be like, he's your father. He's still your father and he can represent you in marriage no matter what, whether he's adl or not. Al-bulugh, he should be an adult because if he's too young, he cannot even, he needs supervision himself. Al-aql, he should have enough wisdom to make judgment and so on. السلامة من الآفات المخلة بالنظر and so on. يكون حلالا, he should not be in a state of ihram because in this case he cannot represent others as well. Inshallah, by this we come to the end of this session and we continue with nikah and marriage next time, inshallah. Leave me your questions, or if anything is not clear, inshallah, leave that in the comments or send me a message in any of the mediums there and I will get to that, inshallah. جزاكم الله خير والله تعالى أعلم وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته.